Hi, my name is Kelly and thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to be unboxing Arkham Horror, the card game, and this is the revised set. So I do have the core set. I only bought one core set box, and they say if you want to play up to 4 players, you need 2. One box works fairly well for me, but I am not able to play the investigators that I want to because of the lack of cards. So I figured it was time to treat myself and buy the revised core set. This is by Fantasy Flight Games, and this is for 1 to 4 players. So this core box has basically 2 of the original core boxes combined. Plus they've done a few updates with the cards, with the art, and I'm just excited to have the new version because I can't resist new shiny things. I'm like a crow. So let's see. Let me get this box open and I will go through it. So this is what Fantasy Flight Games calls a living card game, which is different from like the collectible card games like Magic the Gathering or something similar. So with a living card game, basically it just means that every box has all of the same cards. So you don't have to worry about, having to buy multiple packs and get multiple of the same card. So I like living card games better. So I like the living card games better, but it's something for everyone. So this is the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. H.P. Lovecraft. This is such a great game. I love this game. I started playing it in 2021, I think is when I got the core set, and I played a few games of it. I started with the couple of adventures in the core set itself, and then I got the Dunwich Legacy, and I played through some of that, and then I put it away and I haven't really played it very much since. So I just started playing it about a month ago. I got back into it, and such a great game. I love this game. Let's see, so 45 minutes per player, 1 to 4 player, and it is a co-op game. All right, so we have rule book, learn to play. Fantasy Flight Games is known for having 2 sets of books in their games. So a lot of the time they have like the actual learn to play, and then they have a rules reference. And I think this is great. It's one of those, they can give a little bit more information in the rules reference. They could have a bunch of, keywords and what they mean, and it doesn't bog down the actual rule book, which is great. And I see, so this is the campaign guide for Night of the Zealot, which is the 2 games in here. 3 games. So, okay. Punch boards, and it's such a... They actually have some place you can put cards in, which is great. So the original box, they literally just had a box and then like a a cardboard filler, and then just a little section in the middle that held some cards and the tokens. It was a terrible system. And then you had to, once you bought the expansions like Dunwich Legacy, there's no room in that box for cards, and so you kind of have this weird, do I put the cards someplace else? So this is great that I can actually put those cards in here, which, like the investigator cards, you're going to be reusing those for all of the different campaign expansions, so it's really great that you can put them all in one spot. And here's just some of the cards. So yeah, just a plastic. That's great. Okay. let's start with this. So these are the little player, I guess, tokens. So it's the investigators. That's a bit shiny, sorry. We'll get that out of the way. So these are the investigator portraits, and so you can use these to play with. So if you don't want to use like a little meeple or a little, token of some kind, you can just use these, and then when they've had their turn and their turn is done, you flip it over to the gray side, just showing that the player has already gone. Okay, and of course, the chaos bag. So this will hold the chaos tokens, and then you put the chaos tokens in there, and you will draw draw a token out with anytime you need to do like a skill test or you're investigating. So let's take this out. Okay. 2 boards. So this is nice because they actually have, these are resources. So basically you have 5 resources that you start with in the game. And you use these to buy cards, some of the cards that you can play. So once you play a card, you spend the requisite number of resources to play it. And then some of the cards, you can spend a resource and you can bump up one of your skills or miscellaneous things that they can be used for. But this is great because they actually have, 3 and 5 token ones, which they did not have in the original core box. And then these are the chaos tokens. So again, each campaign will tell you how to set up the chaos bag, and it'll tell you which ones to use and how many of those to use. And then you just shake them all together and then you draw one. So we can add or usually subtract. Usually they're negative. There's very few positive ones for your skill test on whether you beat the skill test or you fail the skill test. And then these are always automatic success and automatic failure. So those are nice. And also, ooh, nice with these too. So these are more tokens. So these are going to be your basically insanity tokens. So if you have a mental, I don't want to say mental issue. It's not that. It's like usually if something bad happens to you and you get mentally harmed, you will take one of these. And then these are physical damage tokens. And these are clue tokens. So what the main thing is there's locations that will be laid out. And so you'll be trying to investigate each location, and each location has a number of clue tokens on it. And so basically you're trying to investigate and get a clue token. Again, it's nice because they did not have a 3-1 before. So that is nice to have that too. And on the back side of the clue tokens are the doom tokens. So doom is bad, obviously. So each round that you've completely finished, you basically place a doom on the agenda. And if it hits a certain number of doom on that agenda, then basically bad things are probably going to happen. You do not want the agenda to progress. You want the acts to progress. So, all right. And cards. So, so it looks like each investigator is in a different pack. And yeah, so just the 5 investigators. So with the investigators, let's see, they do not have a thing to open them. So each investigator will have a different, I can't remember what they're called, like a skill set. So the blue ones are the guardians, and so they're really good at fighting. Maybe not so good at some of the other stuff, but they usually have like the guns, the weapons. That's the ones that you want, covering your back. So this will tell you their health and the insanity or sanity, how much sanity they have and how much they can take before they lose. And this is their skills. So they have, I think that's willpower, book smarts. I forget which one that one is. Is it on the back? Yes, so you have willpower, intellect, and then combat and agility. And so this will just give you some information that is useful for the game. And then this just gives you how to build their deck. So you can build the deck yourself. They will, in the book, at least in the last book, they gave you a couple of decks that you can start with of, you know, building this out. And then again, it looks like they've already built out the deck for you. So if you want to keep, that's, I'm assuming you can keep this. Yeah. No. So with the Seeker cards, you can only have level 0 to 2. Oh yeah, no, these are right. So maybe this is the deck that they've pre-built for you. It was not like this in the original core set. The core set had all of these cards together, and then you kind of picked and selected which ones you wanted, or used the idea for how to build a couple of the decks. So I'm not going to go through all of them. Daisy Walker, she is a Seeker, and she's really good at the intellect. So she's really good at finding clues, because to investigate and find clues, usually it's an intellect check. So again, they all have different health and sanity that they can survive with, or insanity. And then let me just show you some of these cards. So these type of cards are usually like a generic, what they call neutral cards, but there are a couple that are specific to an investigator, can only be used in their deck. So like this one tells you it's Daisy Walker's deck only, and then it's usually something special to her. So, and then everyone has a weakness. This is her weakness, and then there's also a basic weakness. And then these are her cards, so they're in the same color, they show the same symbol, they tell you what they take, basically. So there's certain slots, like 2 hand slots, you have an ally slot, like a necklace slot, so you have to be careful of the limit. And then they just tell you what they can, you know, what they are used for. This is how many resources they cost, so that 1. And then the levels are actually, if I don't know if you can see in there, but there's little tiny like stars in this black area. And so this is a level 0 card. Now, if there were little stars in there, like 1 star would be level 1. And then this is, so cards are multi-use. So obviously, you know, they're really helpful to use to actually play and either into your hand or play like as an event. But they can also be used for this little symbol here. So if you are doing an intellect check and maybe you don't think you're going to pass the intellect check, then you can actually play this card for that symbol, and then that bumps your skill up by 1 or 2 or however many are on here. So that's just some of the cards. Now again, if you have the regular core set, these are going to be, I think, all the same cards. There's no new cards in here, but there's just more copies. So you can have more investigators. You can have different investigators together that maybe use similar cards, so you'll have enough. And then they come with little round sequence, so you have the mythos phase, the investigation phase, enemy phase, and upkeep phase. And then all of the different actions you can do each turn or phase. All right, so and then we have the others. Again, they're different ones. So this is the rogue, green for rogue. The red one is their survivor cards, and the purple one is mystic. So, and they all, you know, do different things. Don't want to mess these up. Put those there. Okay, and these look like extra cards for the investigators. So And it's hard to gain experience points during the game, but if you do gain an experience points, we're getting blurry. So if you do gain an experience point, then you can actually purchase and change out your deck in between games. So these are just other cards that you can use, or if you're building your deck, maybe you are able to use some of these cards as part of it too. But so here's like the little star, which means this is a level 1 card. So they have them for all of the different types, the classes. Okay. So again, on no new cards, but, and then here's just some additional ones. Ooh, emergency cache. It's an upgraded emergency cache. I don't think this is actually in my core set. I don't remember seeing this one. So maybe there are a few. Charisma, I don't remember that one either. And then some more weaknesses. Really cool. I love the art. It's very gory. This is such a great game. All right, and let's go through these. So I think The Gathering is the first one. So now this little section will have some spoilers if you don't want to be get any spoilers, but this is the very first case that you'll be doing. So these are the, I think they're like encounter cards basically. So this is the encounter that you're going to be doing. It's called The Gathering, and this is the little symbol showing what it is. And then for your chaos bag, these chaos tokens, this will tell you what those mean when you draw one. So it's different with every single campaign. So this is easy and standard, and this side is for hard and expert. Now I've only ever played on easy, and it's still very hard, the game. And some of them, I've watched a couple of playthroughs of other ones, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's incredibly difficult, and sometimes it can be very, it can get you down. But it's a game, and it's still fun. And so these are the agenda cards. So basically the agenda cards are, again, something bad that would happen, but it just kind of tells you what's going on. What exactly the title of this card, what's going on. It is late at night. You are holed up in your study researching the bloody disappearances that have been taking place in the region. A few hours into your research, you hear the sound of strange chanting coming from your parlor down the hall. At the same time, you hear dirt churning as if something were digging beneath the floor. And this tells you how many doom can be placed on here before it actually advances the agenda. And then you would go to the back side, and usually, again, something bad happens. And then there's, for this one, there's 3 agenda cards. So you go through 1A, 2A, 3A, and then the backs, of course. Usually, if you get to the last card and you turn it over, usually you lose somehow. It's usually not good. And then these are the act cards, and act cards are, again, very similar to the agenda cards, but usually more of a positive thing that the investigators want to do to advance the act, so that they can win the scenario. Sometimes even winning it's not that great, but it's better than completely losing. So the Act 1A card is Trapped. As you leap to investigate, the door to your study vanishes before your eyes, leaving behind only solid wall. You're trapped inside your study until you can find another way out. And so this down here tells you how many clues you need to advance the act. So this little symbol over here of the investigator just means it's 2 clues per investigator. So if you were playing with 1 investigator, which is extremely difficult, you would only need 2 clues to advance. If you were playing like 2-player, then you would need 4. And then again, you advance it, you read the back. Usually something good happens, but not always. It's more of a positive though. All right, and then again, you have different act numbers. And so once you get to the end, the last act, again, usually something more positive happens and the scenario is over. All right, so again, spoilers. These are location cards. And so you always start it with the key side up. And so it'll tell you in the setup instructions how to set this up, which locations are out first. Some locations are put off to the side, come out later. So it gives you just a little blurb in the front. And then on the back, it unlocks the location when you move to that location. Again, it will tell you how many clues are on this location that can be investigated. And then sometimes it has other information here, like a different action or benefit once in a while. Sometimes there's a negative thing that happens. And then over here is what they call the shroud value. And so this is what you have to make your investigate check against. So we'll just take real quick Daisy Walker. She has an investigate of 5. If she were to investigate here, it's against a shroud value of 2. So right now she's at 5, so she's at +3. And so if she were to draw a chaos token out of the bag, usually you have to be at 0 or above. If you are at negative compared to the shroud value, then you lose and you don't win that skill test. And that's for anything that you have to make a skill test against and you have to pull a token out. So just different locations, and they all have connecting values. So the hallway is connected to these 3 types down below, and then you would look up here and see if it's a connecting location. And these are basically enemies. Again, they kind of tell you what set they're from, how much damage they do if they attack you. This has information on how you can attack them, what you have to beat. Again, you have to do a skill test against their fight value. This is how much health they have. And then this is how much, if you're like, I can't beat them by fighting them, you can evade them. And then that's how much the evade value is that you have to beat. So they have information on here. And then they have what are called encounter cards. So these cards are bad. There's enemies, there's, what they have is called a treachery card. So revelation, so when you reveal it, you have to test, what is that? The evade one. I usually, it's like the foot. You don't usually say the name, the agility. So test agility of 3. And then for each point you fail by, take 1 damage. Decaying hands rise up from below and grasp and claw at your ankles. So there's not much of a story, a little bit of a story, but it never changes. So yeah, just different cards that you have to do. So the investigators have a turn. They do, all of their turns. Sorry, I'm trying not to mess this up. And then, the enemies get a turn if they're, not evaded or what they call exhausted. So turn to the side. And then, it goes to the upkeep phase and then back to the mythos phase. And that's when doom gets added on. It can progress the agenda if there's enough doom on the card. And then each investigator will draw from the encounter deck. And so they each have to encounter one of those cards. Luck of the draw. Sometimes you luck out and you're good at that investigate or, that skill test that you need to perform. Other times you're terrible at it. Again, you can put cards in to help you try and pass the skill test. Any investigators that are in the same room as you can help and put in 1 card to try and help you pass the test. So yeah, it's such a great game. I love this game. So what you would do is you go over the campaign guide, tells you basically a little story of how to start it. And then the campaign setup, so how you would, basically choose your investigators, assemble your decks. Here's how to assemble the chaos bag. So depending on which one you're easy. I want to experience the story. And that's true, but man, sometimes the luck of the draw, you can get such poor pulls out of that bag. It's terrible. And then it gives you how to use the campaign log, and then the information for part 1, which is the gathering. And then you set it up. It tells you how to set everything up. And then you basically read the agenda and the act, and then you start playing. And then there's always a section that says do not read until the end of the scenario. So there's different resolutions. Some of these you can resign. And so if you can resign, that's one resolution. If all the investigators die or are driven crazy because of their insanity level, then that might be another resolution. If you advance the agenda all the way through, which is the bad cards, it will maybe give you a different resolution, versus if you advance all of the good cards, the act cards, it'll give you maybe a 4th resolution. Some of them are combined, others are completely separate, and you don't have to replay that scenario again. You just progress on to the next scenario, but whatever happened in that first scenario could have effects on the rest of the game for you, good or bad. So this is the campaign log. So Night of the Zealot, you put your player, your investigator, their experience, how much trauma, physical and mental they have. Take campaign notes. So sometimes when you read this, I'll go ahead and read one, spoiler. So you can say, in your campaign log, record that your house is still standing. So you would record that here and say, your house is still standing. And then maybe in the second scenario, it might ask you, is your house still standing? Then read this section. If not, read this other section. So again, like I said, stuff that happens in the first scenario or previous scenarios will affect later ones. Let's see. And then here's where you can just keep track of what scenarios you've done. So the first box has the 3 scenarios, and then you can continue on with really any expansion pack. You don't have to go in order. I like going in order, my brain likes that, but you can certainly skip around to the various expansion packs. They don't have to be done in order. So that's how the campaign guide is set up. And again, it will tell you sometimes how to set up suggested location placements and stuff like that. And the rules guide, the rules rule book, so Learn to Play. Actually, their book is really good. I like Fantasy Flight games. They usually have really good rule books, and I love their rules reference. It's so nice to have that. So this gives you the game overview, how to use this book, what a living card game is, the components. Let's see, fundamental concepts. So winning and losing, how scenario decks work, agenda decks, act decks, investigators, lead investigator. How to say if a card is ready or exhausted. So that will be part of it in the enemy phase. So if the enemy is ready, that means they can attack or move and attack. If they're exhausted, that means they don't do anything, but in the upkeep phase, they now ready and they may engage with an investigator, or, just be prepared to move next turn if there's no investigators in their location. All right. So first game setup. Ooh, this is very nice. This is different. I like this. That's really cool. I like how they have it all broken out into different steps, and they show you what exactly they're talking about. That's really cool. Okay, round sequence, so how the different rounds work. So in very first game you play, you're going to start with the investigation phase. You skip the mythos phase. That's after the first round. So it tells you how to do the investigation phase, the different things that you can do, some tips. And then it tells you each of the different things that you can do. So you have 3 actions each turn, unless that's modified somehow for some reason. And so it tells you, you can draw a card, you can just take a resource, you can activate an action on your card itself that you have in play. You can play a card, which basically means paying like 4 resources, and then you can play this card. So yeah, this is really nice. I like how this is laid out. It's similar to the original rulebook, but I think it's laid out a little bit better, which is nice. And then it talks you through the next phase. So enemy phase is next, so it tells you what to do on there. Upkeep phase, and then mythos phase. How to do a skill test and what they are. And then what do you do after? So now that you know all this stuff, what do you do? How to build a custom deck if you want. And what random weaknesses are. Starter decks. So it does, this is nice. So this is definitely different from the first one. The first one only gave you Roland Banks and Wendy Adams, I believe. So it only gave you the starter ones for those. So that's nice that this is actually in here for all of them. All right. And then this is a little back section, which gives you basically one page what you need to do. So it tells you the phase sequence, what certain keywords are. So there will be keywords on, you know, maybe the agenda, the act, player cards, encounter cards. So it tells you what those are. Timing triggers, which is important. There's different triggers. There's like a free trigger, which can be done, you know, at certain times, reaction trigger, etc. And then what the different symbols are and what they mean, which is nice. Okay. And then last, we'll just take a quick look at the rules reference. So again, index on the back, and this is basically just like a dictionary. So it'll tell you what you need to know. So basically, halt, read the Learn to Play book first. That is very good. As you have questions, then it's good to come in here and follow up with them. Again, it's everything that you can think of, which is great. Clues, consonant abilities, difficulty for skill tests, drawing cards, enemy cards, engage action. So yeah, it's just fantastic. I love this. I use it all the time when I play. Okay. Taking damage in horror, upkeep phase, weaknesses, all kinds of stuff. And then appendixes. So Appendix 1, initiation sequence, and Appendix 2 is timing and gameplay. And then gives you some flow charts, it looks like. This is, I think this is a little bit more than what's in the set that I have. I don't remember this, but it could be in there. Maybe I just haven't seen it. But this is a little bit more detailed on how the different phases work and the different steps in each phase. And then skill test timing. That is important because that will come up. And then Appendix 3, setting up the game. I don't remember this being in it either. I think, yeah, I don't remember this exactly. Again, it could be in there, maybe just in a different location that I haven't really looked at. And then card anatomy. So it'll give you a breakdown of everything on a card and what they mean, which is great, and for each of the different cards. And it's really cute. So the agenda and act decks, they're like a little book. So agenda's on the left, acts on the right, and then you have your little book. Okay. There you go. All right, and I think that's it. I got this the other day and I really wanted to open it because I really want to play Arkham Horror and I might need some of these cards. But I wanted to do an unboxing first. So now that it is done, I can play with these cards. Thank you for joining me today. If you like the video, please go ahead and hit the little like button. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you like Arkham Horror or if you've played the game. And if you want to be notified anytime I upload a new video, go ahead and hit the little subscribe button. Thank you. Bye.
You didn't record any of it?